Good morning, everybody. Morning. If you can hear me.
دخل بقية الفصل.
Good morning. Can you hear me, guys? Hello? Minna, can you hear me? Minna?
Yes, يا مستر.
Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you.
ازيك يا مستر؟
Morning. Afternoon. Okay. So we are 15 now. Some people took a long time to join. I'm not sure why. I have Yauta. Morning, Yauta. Afternoon, sorry. Menna, Gamal, Yusuf Mashali, Danielle.
Good morning, Mr.
Some other guys. Morning, Habib. So, Mariam, Hania, Shahd, Ibrahim, Matar. Okay.
Hi, Master.
Morning. We are 21 now. I think nobody is still waiting. Okay. Let's share the screen. And let's go to this page. Where is our page? Sorry. I'm trying to share the screen. Peter, can you see the screen, guys?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, we can see.
Yes, yes.
I'll try to go to the Seafarer. The Seafarer.
Mister.
Here, yes. Two people are waiting.
Sorry, I entered late.
Send and Matar, yes.
لسه مش مفروض جرامر النهارده.
Peter, you were saying something. Peter.
Yes, sorry, I entered late.
No problem, Peter. No problem. I've just opened. Okay. Matar, you were saying something?
لسه لا أنا كنت بقول مش مفروض جرامر النهارده.
Guys, I hear from the speakers of the class. I don't have a phone, okay? But try to make yourself.
Good morning, Mister.
Morning, Habib. Somebody was asking about something I couldn't hear. Can you repeat that?
Mr. Daniel was asking مش المفروض النهارده grammar?
No, who said المفروض? No, we're doing literature. Okay? If you have the book, if you have the hard copy, open it. If you don't, follow up with me, please. As we said before, if you remember, we talked about Anglo-Saxon, the Anglo-Saxon era. I hope you all are hearing me now. We said that they were characterized with writing lyrics, and the lyric is the thoughts of someone, of an individual. And we have 4 poems which were found in a book called the Book of Exeter, or the Exeter book. Okay, we have the 4 manuscripts of these old things, of old works. They were written all in Old English. An American professor, university professor and translator, Professor Burton Ruffle, translated them all into modern English. And the first poem is called The Seafarer. As we said before, the word seafarer means simply a sailor or a person who works on the sea or a person who travels on the sea. Okay, I think we read the first stanza last week, last Wednesday maybe. I maximize a little bit in order to make you able to see. Here we have background. I'll read this part again. Background to the Anglo-Saxon people of Britain. Home meant something different from what is meant for people today. Remember this. An Anglo-Saxon warrior viewed himself as the follower of a particular lord or king. So, an Anglo-Saxon warrior's home was his lord or his king, his protector, not as a citizen of a nation. He saw himself as a follower of a king or a lord, not as a citizen of a nation, who was proud of belonging to this king or to this lord, not to this land. Gathering in the mead hall, we said what a mead hall is. You know what a hall? Mead was a drink made from fermented honey and water. They gathered in such places called mead halls to celebrate their victories, to spend their nights. It was their home. Okay, a building dedicated to their, this is a mead hall, a building dedicated to their feasts. A lord and his warriors would share food, drink, entertainment, and fellowship. Smoky, noisy, smelly, and crowded, these mead halls were like a whole community. The mead hall was home. So again, the concept of home was not as clear as it is now. Now we belong to our homeland. I am Egyptian. I'm proud of Egypt. I belong to this land. I don't belong to any person. But at that time, in the Anglo-Saxon era, warriors belonged to their lords or kings, to their protectors. Again, and by the way, we mentioned that a woman belonged to her husband because he was her protector. Okay, let's read the first lines again. I read them line by line and paraphrase it and explain it. This tale is true again, and mine. It tells how the sea took me, swept me back, and forth in sorrow and fear and pain, showed me suffering in 100 ships, in 1,000 ports, and in me. Okay, these are the first 5 lines. Let's see what these 5 lines say. As you can see, this is an elegy. An elegy is a sad poem mourning something. Mourning, M-O-U-R-N-I-N-G. It expresses a sad idea. The elegiac personal tone is established from the beginning. As you can see, the poet here is lonely. He feels lonely and he is suffering. As you can see, he suffered and so this in 100 ships and 1,000 ports. He pleads to his audience. He tells us about his honesty. This is why he says, this tale is true and mine. I am honest because it's my own story, the story of my own life. It tells how the sea took me. And here we use the first person, okay? So he proves that he is honest because this is his personal experience. He tells of the limitless suffering, sorrow, and pain, and his long experience in various ships and ports, as you can see. Okay? Sorry. He never explains exactly why he is driven to take to the ocean. Why? He doesn't say. Why does he take to the ocean? Why does he go to the ocean? Maybe some people, some critics say it's a self-imposed exile. We said that the three poems we are studying this term, the Seafarer, the Wanderer, and the Wife's Lament, express the theme of them all. They have the stuff they have in common is all of them are about exile. So the exile here lives in a self-imposed exile. This man chooses to be lonely, to be in the sea alone. Okay, he says. Sorry. So let me complete the from line 6 to line 11. It tells of smashing surf when I sweated in the cold of an anxious watch perched in the bow, and it dashed under cliffs. My feet were cast in icy bands, and in icy bands, bound with frost, with frozen chains, and hardship groaned around my heart, hunger tore, and so on. Here in these lines from line 6, from line 6 here to line 11, he conveys concrete images of cold, anxiety, and stormy seas, and rugged shorelines. He compares the imprisonment of his own to many people who live on earth. He combines to drag the speaker into his prolonged state of anguish. He decides to take you, to drag you, okay, into his anguish, into his suffering. He wants to make you share him this feeling. Okay, let's move on to lines from 12 to line 16 here. At my sea-weary soul, no man sheltered on the quiet fairness of earth can feel how wretched I was, drifting through winter on an ice-cold sea, whirled in sorrow, alone in a world long clear of love. Again and again, he intensifies the idea of being in exile, living lonely, and so on, and suffering. At my sea-weary soul, no man sheltered on the quiet fairness of earth. No one living on earth now can imagine how much I suffer. Again, no man sheltered on the quiet fairness of earth. Nobody with the pleasures of life on earth, where you are surrounded by your relatives, friends, you are drinking wine, you are celebrating in the mead halls, okay? No one can imagine how much I suffer. No man sheltered on the quiet fairness of earth can feel how wretched, how desperate I was, drifting through winter, moving through the waves, the snow, on an ice-cold sea, on a very, very, very cold sea, whirled in sorrow, wrapped in sorrow and sadness, alone, again, alone, in a world blown clear of love. There is no one around you to tell you that they love you. You have no one to love you here. But living back on the earth, you have your friends, again, your wife, your kids, everyone. So the loneliness and isolation of his ocean wanderings are emphasized again and again. And he highlights the, let's say, the opposition between the comfortable life on earth to the hard life in the sea. Alone, he is physically alone. He is on his own in the sea and without a sense of connection to the rest of the human race. He doesn't have his friends. He doesn't have his family. He doesn't have anyone around him. He pushes on in his suffering. He goes on in his suffering. Let's move on to lines 17 to 19. Hung with icicles, the hailstorms flew. The only sound was the roaring sea, the freezing waves, the song of the swan. So he returns to describing his harsh environment and weather, and he talks about the hail, snow, the high waves, the cold and the wind, again and again. He puts us in the picture, okay? He wants to show us how he suffers this harsh weather. Let's move on to lines 20 to 26. Might serve for pleasure the cry of the seafowl, this is a seabird, the death noise of birds instead of laughter, the mewing of gulls instead of meat. This is what he can hear. Again, if we go to the end of line 19 here, the song of the swan. So we have the swan and the seafowl and the birds, the death noise of birds instead of laughter, and the gulls. These four things are what surrounds him. They surround him instead of his friends and the laughter of his kids and his wife and his family. Okay, so he is surrounded by these sounds only. The sound of the swan, the seafowl, and some birds, the gulls. The storms beat on the rocky cliffs and were echoed by icy feather terns. A tern is a type of bird also, and the eagle screams. No kinsman could offer comfort there. I have no relatives here. I have no friends here. I'm surrounded by these creatures, these sea birds only, to a soul left drowning in desolation. Nobody, no kinsman, could offer comfort. Nobody can offer me comfort because I live in desolation. I'm drowning in desolation. Here. So we have here the items again that make him, let's say, feel his loneliness. The birds that surround him. The birds' lonely cries only emphasize the distance from land and from other people. He said that the swan song might serve for pleasure, but in his case, it will not. The swan song maybe is something happy, is something that makes you pleased, but here it will not. The swans, the gulls, the terns, the eagles only increase his sense of abandonment, his sense of loneliness, his sense of desolation, and show the lack of warm human compassion in his stormy ocean wandering. He metaphorically drowns in his loneliness. Again, he says, no kinsman could offer comfort there to a soul left drowning in desolation. Can you imagine this metaphor? A person drowning in loneliness, a person drowning in desolation or solitude. Let's move on to lines 27 to 30. 27 to 30 here. And who could believe, knowing that the passion of cities swell proud with wine and no taste of misfortune, how often, how wearily I put myself back on the paths of the sea, again and again. Here, he makes another opposition between himself and the comfortable city dweller. Again, in the first lines we read, he compared himself to a person who is living in a city on earth, who takes all the pride and drink. The city person cannot possibly know of his suffering, as he said. The experience of the poet here cannot be translated for the sheltered urban inhabitant because he will not understand it. I'll admit the حروق. Again, any person who is living on earth now can't understand how much this man suffered. He intensified the idea again and again.
مستر معلش يا مستر النت كان قاطع في البيت.
No problem, Ahmed. Mute yourself, please. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry. somebody calling himself, I think, Sameh. Okay, Mr. Sameh. Sorry, I'll remove you. Okay. Somebody wants to have some fun. Thank you all for your commitment. Okay, I'll go on. So, again, the city person cannot understand the seafarers, the sailors' suffering. His suffering can be translated to a person living on earth like me and you. Let's move on to the following lines from line 31 to 38. Night would blacken. He is still describing his suffering. It would snow from the north. This is winter, of course. Frost bound the earth and hail would fall. All this is wintry weather, right? The coldest seeds. The coldest seeds. This is called a kenning, guys. This is a kenning. And instead of saying the hail, he used this kenning. Two words instead of saying the hail. You know, the small balls of ice or snow falling in the winter. He said the coldest seeds. The coldest seeds. This is a kenning. You can underline it in your books or take a note of this. This is a kenning. And how my heart would begin to beat, knowing once more the salt waves tossing and the towering sea, the time for journeys, the time for journeys. Okay, Abdurrahman, I'll try to raise my voice. Abdurrahman complains about the bad sound of my voice. Okay, where did I stop? I put my myself back on the paths of the sea. Night would blacken. It would snow from the north. Again, he's describing the wintry weather. Frost bound the earth and hail would fall. The coldest seeds. Again, this is a kenning. And how my heart would begin to beat, knowing once more the salt waves tossing and the towering sea, the time for journeys would come, and my soul called me eagerly out, sent me over the horizon seeking foreigners' homes. Here the speaker again describes the changes in weather, especially the wintry weather, as days or day turns to night, and snow and hail rain down from maybe black skies. He said that he is once again drawn to his inexplicable wandering. Again, maybe he finished his first journey on the sea and went back home, and again he finds himself called to the sea, attracted to the sea, attracted to this suffering. So this is why we say it's a self-imposed exile. The poet or the seafarer chose to live in this exile, okay? His restless spirit returns to the sea and foreign seaports. He enjoys this. He enjoys this suffering. He enjoys his loneliness, his desolation, his solitude. And he says here, seeking foreigners' homes. It's ironic because he searches for the shelter of homes. He is isolated from the values represented by home. There is no home on the sea, right? He doesn't have any warmth. He lives in cold weather. He doesn't have any safety because, you know, the sea is dangerous all the time. Compassion, nobody to love him. No friendship or love. Okay? Fahi, Mirna?
Master, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you please explain coldest seeds again? Sorry.
Again, By coldest seeds, you know, when hail, when snow falls in small balls.
Oh yes, so
This
that's
is
what
called a
it's meant.
kenning. Fahi used, if you remember the
Okay.
definition of a kenning,
Old,
they used,
like an old word.
yes.
Okay.
This is called the kenning, K-E-N-N-I-N-G. We talked about it before, Myrna. The use of two words instead of of one word, sorry. Okay? And instead of saying snow, he said the coldest seeds. Because you know, snow is cold seeds, cold grains. You understand?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Let's move on to lines 39 to 43. 39 here to 43. But there isn't a man on earth so proud, so born to greatness, so bold with his youth, grown so brave, or so graced by God, that he feels no fear as the sails unfurl, wondering what fate has willed and will do. Simply, he said, no one on earth, no matter how brave he is, can feel safe in the sea. Again, but there isn't a man on earth so proud, even if he is very, very proud of himself. So born to greatness, so great, even if he is the greatest person in the world. So bold with his youth, so strong, full of youth, okay? Grown so brave, so graced by God, loved by God, that he feels no fear as the sails unfurl as he starts a sea journey. All of us, no matter how brave we are, feel some fear when we start a sea journey. I hope you understand this part. Wondering what fate has willed and will do. He doesn't know what fate will do with him in this sea, in these waves, in this coldness. Okay? So these lines introduce a central theme of the poem. He displays his second catalog, a list of earthy human virtues like pride, like greatness, like boldness, youth, seriousness, and grace. All this doesn't matter in the sea. All this stuff doesn't matter in the sea. Okay, all this stuff doesn't matter on the sea. He emphasizes that even the person blessed with all these virtues feels fear at the onset, at the start of a journey on the sea, wondering what fate may have in store for him. I think the idea is clear. I said it twice. Let me say it for the third time. No man, no matter how strong he is, living on earth, can feel safe once he starts a sea journey. We all are not sure what the sea will do with us, what fate will do, what fate will not do with us. Lines 44 to 46, 44 to 46, no harps ring in his heart, no rewards, no passion for women, no worldly pleasures, nothing, only the ocean's heave. So, in these lines, he continues the catalog of talking about earthly or worldly pleasures, began in line maybe 39. Okay? The will never be comforted, or he will never be comforted by harps. You know, harps is a musical, maybe instrument, rewards, or the love of women. Only the sea comforts him. So this poet can be attracted to women or harps or rewards or prizes. He is only attracted to the sea. Again and again, this is why we say this is a self-imposed exile. The exiled person here likes this. He likes to live in this, let's say, suffering. Let's move on to lines 47 up to maybe 57, because this is one part, 47. But longing wraps itself around him, orchards blossom, the towns bloom, Fields grow lovely as the world springs fresh. And all these admonish, if you remember the word admonish, we studied before, that dwelling mind, leaping to journeys, always set in thoughts, traveling on a quickening tide. So summer sentinel, if you remember sentinel, a guard, the cuckoo. Remember this bird when people back in Britain hear or heard the singing of the cuckoo, this was a sign of the summer. Sings in the murmuring voice, and our hearts mourn as he urges, who could understand in ignorant ease what we others suffer, as the paths of exile stretch endlessly on. I'll explain this. He shifts away from winter, as you can see, talking about here he says, orchards blossom. This is the spring. The winter is over, and then the towns bloom, flowers are everywhere, fields grow lovely as the world springs fresh, and then comes the summer. How did we know? He said, the summer sentinel. Another kenning, another kenning, another kenning, Myrna. The summer's sentinel is the use of two words instead of the word the cuckoo. The summer sentinel, the guard of the summer. What's meant by the guard of the summer here? This bird. Why? Because once they hear it singing, this means the summer is coming. Okay? Summer's sentinel, this is another kenning. Kenning, this is important stuff. Okay? Type. The imagery of orchards, flowers, and cities in bloom stands in stark contrast, strong contrast to the icy winter winds and storms, as you can see. The cuckoo, a bird of happiness and summer, contrasts with the earlier lists of winter ocean birds, like the seagulls, the terns, and the previously mentioned birds. Even these pleasantries, these pleasures, cannot combat the speaker's wanderlust and desire to return to the sea. Again, he says, those who dwell in ease on earth, of course, cannot understand the reason why he or those like him are called to abandon city life and search the frozen, stormy seas. Again, because the pleasure they have here is endless. I'll end the session here. The poem is about 124 lines. We are just having a fast look on the poem, and then we'll explain more and more. If you have any question now, put your hand up before I end this session.
نقدر نخش على طول ولا نستنى لغاية ما تيجي واحدة؟
Karim, I can, because it will end, the meeting ends automatically after 40 minutes. Okay? يعني it will end automatically in 3 minutes or 2 minutes.
نخش الساعة واحدة ولا نخش على طول؟
Yes, come back at 1. Thank you, Karim. You are Karim, right?
تمام.
Love you. Okay. ماشي حبيبي.
سلام.
I'll end it now. See you at 1 inshallah.